Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tim Gaither Podcast, episode 105. My guest today is Reece Humphrey. Reece Humphrey is a three-time U.S. Open champion. He's a two-time All-American at Ohio State. He's a two-time world team member and a super cool dude. Looking forward to talking to him. Let's bring him in.
How's everything going?
Pretty good. How you doing in New Jersey with this lockdown?
Yeah, we've been having fun with the family. It's a lot of family time, which has been awesome. But yeah, man, I can't wait to get back on the mats. I can't wait to get back to the normalcy of life.
Yeah,
But we've been taking advantage for sure.
I bet. Are you, you said you had a practice. Are you doing like a virtual thing?
Yeah, just a lot of virtual workouts. And this isn't a practice that's coming up. I'm going live on Instagram to teach a couple dance moves.
Oh,
so,
really?
to one of our college wrestlers over at Princeton.
You you're one of the best athletes I know that's also a wrestler. Were you always an athlete? Like how old were you when you started wrestling? Were you good right from the start?
I was good right away, but most of the guys that make it really far start a little bit younger than me. I started in sixth grade with like no emphasis on any summer wrestling or anything. And my dad coached two Olympic teams, one for Canada in '84 and then for the U.S. in '88. So you would think that he was teaching me some stuff while I was wrestling my brother in the basement or in the living room. So that probably has a little bit to do with why I was good right away. But yeah, I've always been able to pretty much do anything athletic that I've put time into. But everybody like puts so much emphasis on you're athletic, you're quick, and you can jump high. But it's like I can't really jump that high. I'm not that fast. It's more work in weird situations, like I spent a lot of time on the bar and on the rings and like having the no fear aspect of doing backflips and crazy stuff because I do a lot of interesting things, but none of them are like crazy basketball star athletic by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've got, I mean, how old were you when you realized that your dad was a world silver medalist? Because it seems like you either told me or I read somewhere that you didn't even realize how good he was until you got to be what age?
I mean, it happened like decently quick after I started wrestling. Like through my whole life, there was always wrestlers coming over, but I never. At least he made me believe that I never really put them together somehow. Um, but I remember him coming into practice to like help coach, and I was thinking like, Dad, you're good at push-ups, but what are you doing here? Why are you running practice? So I found out pretty quick. He was always coaching my brother's practice, and everybody showed him a lot of respect when he was in the room. And and it obviously helped me with my career forever. But I didn't really put it together. He was my dad. You don't really think of your dad as that unless he brags about it all the time. But people would always say nice things about him, but that wasn't always the main thing that anybody said. So it took a minute for me to figure it out.
Well, I think that says a lot about him as a person that you were that old before he never even said like, I was a world silver medalist. I mean,
I'm
you
sure he did, but the emphasis wasn't on that at all. It was always more being a dad, which is looking back is really cool and difficult for me because I'm always talking about how cool I am to my boy.
I know I won a state championship. That's the highest I ever got in wrestling, and I guarantee he'll know that pretty.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's got to know that. He knows already.
Was he you started you wrestled in Indiana, right, in high school?
Indiana in high school and then Ohio State after.
Yeah. You were a three-time state champ in high school. Did you how many losses did you have overall? Do you know?
I don't know, five. I think five, and some good guys. I was 103 basically my freshman year, but I couldn't make the team. We had the state champ on our team, and I lost like double overtime, and like they let me wrestle him off multiple times. He was a big 103 pounder, so I think they wanted him to go up to have us both in the lineup. But I ended up bumping up to 112, and that's really where most of my losses were. And I ended up losing to Angel Escobedo at the state tournament my freshman year, and then he won four, I won three, and then we ended up training together at Ohio State. So after college. So yeah, man, some good guys coming out of Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana is quietly one of the better wrestling states that people don't always talk about. But
One division.
I was listening to I think it was JD Bergman talking to somebody on a Big Ten wrestling match, and they were talking about all the studs that came out of Indiana, and I didn't even realize how many studs came out there. Did you lose to Angel in the finals?
No, it was the first round, no wrestlebacks.
Oh,
So I had lost previously to get that seed to have him first round because I think he was undefeated his whole high school career. Maybe he lost once out of state. But yeah, so I had lost previously, but I feel like I was maybe the second best 103 pounder. But I weighed in at 104 to wrestle 112 back then.
oh, okay. Yeah, it's difficult at those smaller weights to be given up. 8 pounds is a hell of a lot of weight to be given up.
Yeah, it was a lot for me, that's for sure.
Uh,
Freshman too.
so you're a three-time state champ, and then you chose Ohio State. Why did you choose Ohio State? I imagine you had all kinds of freestyle accolades as well, right?
Yeah, I was highly recruited, and my dad was a Buckeye. My brother was going there. My mom, everybody in my family has been a Buckeye. So it was definitely on the radar right away. But they were, I think, 11th or 12th in the Big Ten at the time. Whatever the amount of teams there were, they were last. I remember going. I had signed with them, and I went to the Big Tens, and they won like 3 matches. So I was like, man, did I make the right choice? But my dad was coaching the club there, which only lasted for a year because the whole coaching staff changed when Tom Ryan came in. So they weren't great, but I came for like a guy named TJ Enright and Jay Jaggers were both there. And, if I had partners around my weight class, I knew that I could be successful in an individual sport. And I liked the coaches there, and it turned out to be a really good thing when Tom Ryan came and Lou Roselli and all those guys switched over. But I went for really the partners, and my dad was going to be the club coach there, and our family of Buckeyes.
Yeah. So Tom Ryan came when you were what year?
I did 1 year, and then I wrestled my true freshman year, and then he came and brought a couple studs over, and we went from I think like 52nd to 8th in 1 year, and then we got second twice, and then they won the nationals the year after I left, or a couple years after I left.
Yeah. And you were a two-time NCAA All-American, and you got the second as a junior. What do you remember about your finals match?
How not ready I was mentally.
Yeah.
I walked out. I've been in a lot of big matches, but this one shook me like crazy. And 3 weigh-ins was always really hard for me, making 133. I got a lot better once I moved to freestyle, and it was the night before weigh-in. It just like immediately made me better. But I remember I ran out to the stage, and I was first out, and I jogged out. Franklin Gomez ended up getting second in the world like the very next year. So he was a tough opponent for me. We had an overtime match in the Big Tens. And so I think I was ready, and he walked out, and he just like so calm and collected, and I had so much time out on the stage. I like looked around, and there was, the 20,000 plus people looking at just you. And I was like, oh no, this is a big match. And it just crushed me. It definitely did. My legs got tired immediately before the match started. And so I told that to Logan Stieber. You notice how he walks out every single time from there on out, because it definitely made a big impact on me. To Gomez like proved how relaxed and how focused he was, and it made me get in my head a little bit. And I definitely didn't wrestle the same match that I did in the Big Ten finals, and he got the best of it. And then I had Dake my senior year in the semis, and that was a real close scrap too, double overtime, and just ran into some good guys, and I was much better in freestyle anyway.
Yeah. What is it about folk style that you're not a huge fan of?
I wanted to wrestle. I don't think bottom top is wrestling. It's just like holding me down. I'm always like, get off me so we can wrestle again. But, I didn't put enough emphasis on those positions. I always got away from pretty much everybody. Dake held me down in double overtime, and that was the difference. But over 30 seconds, I pretty much got away from everybody. But for some reason in my head, it was like a position I didn't want to be in. But I should have just put a little more time into it. And, it's hard to work on your weaknesses, especially a young college kid with an ego. So, I wish that I could do it again. I would do it better, but so would everybody.
Yeah.
But, I was cutting a lot of weight, and 1 hour weigh-in, 2 hour weigh-in wasn't great for me. So a lot of weigh-ins, a lot of competitions wasn't great for my kind of style of the way I like to train. But no excuses. Everybody's got the same issues. You just look at everybody's beat up and banged up in the college season. It's just kind of part of the game. But I think I made some better mental decisions after I was done. You know, not folk style, freestyle, it doesn't really matter. I just like decided this is the weight I was going to go. I'm doing it for me and my family, and I'm going to do everything right. When in college, I would on Sundays, I would eat and drink as much as I can, and we'd have to check weight on Monday, and I would like drink more on the way to practice to show everybody how heavy I was, which is such a such a only hurting me mistake. You know, I'm just shooting myself in the foot, and I just wanted everybody to know how hard it was, and that's just it ruined me and made the decision of making the weight a lot harder. And even towards the end of my junior year, I did a lot of things right for sure, but so I held myself back a lot. It didn't have to do with folk style or freestyle, but I do like freestyle more.
Yeah. What drives you crazy about the folk style rules? Like I've seen you talk a little bit on Twitter about like the stalling rules and all that stuff. Is that your most frustrating thing
Yeah,
you watch as a fan?
I just want more action. I like freestyle because, you know, it's a really great match can end up 8-8. The majority of great matches in folk style end up 3-2, and it's like the equalizer in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, I love folk style, I really do. I just think freestyle is the better guy wins more often. It wasn't true when the clinch was in place, if you guys know what that is, but it's like now the rules are so good. There's plenty of ways to score. And once you get used to that rule set and you get comfortable in freestyle, I find like most people that wrestle on the senior scene will choose freestyle as the better style. There's just more ways to score. You can rack up points quicker. If you like teching somebody in folk style, you got to be so much better than them. In freestyle, you can be clearly better than them and get off the mat. You know, you got to be like just completely dominant to be turning someone over and holding them on their back. I don't care how good they are. So I just think it kind of makes it more of an equal match. The guys who are much better can lose 3-2 or get a final takedown, score right at the end of the second period, and end up changing the whole match. When freestyle, the better guy tends to win.
Yeah. You touched on a little bit about the rules that you had to wrestle under, and some of them were just insane, like the clinch and the ball draw and all that, which you were kind of a victim of in 2012. Tell us what happened in 2012, your Olympic. You know, you were as close as you could possibly be to making a team.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. No, you know, we almost lost wrestling because of the clinch. It was like, I think it came 04-12 or something like that, maybe 8-12. I'm not sure when the clinch was all in play, but talk about the worst guy could definitely win. If I'm worse than you and I know it, I'm not doing anything. It's not that hard to stall. And if the other guy exposes himself too much, I can counterattack him, and I can really be worse than somebody and end up beating him. You had to win 2 out of 3 periods, and if it was 0-0, you pull the ball. And, I mean, I never, ever lost the offensive clinch, not once. It was just such an advantage. And, and, you know, I lost 2 clinches to Coleman, Scott, at the Olympic trials, which was just a weird scenario. We can talk about that for a second. Like, Times Square, I've wrestled all my matches in a gym from birth to now, except for the most important match of my whole career. I'm warming up in American Eagle, like bumping into customers and people that work there, people trying to talk to me. I'm like, dude, what is going on? The mat is like scorching hot. Like I had all these burns all over me. Thought they were mat burns, and then I realized they were actual burns from the mat being so hot in the middle of Times Square in the middle of summer. So, you know, there's a lot of things. We all had the same experience, but just some things. And I felt like I was focused and I was ready and I wrestled well. But, you know, I scored the only point in the second period and win that one. I lose the first clinch, and I was thinking like, man, just don't go back to the clinch. But the way that the rules are, there's 2 red balls, 2 blue. Once you pull one, you only have 1 ball. So I have the odds. And I'm thinking like, man, don't expose myself too much, because I've got 2 out of 3 chance I'm going to win this match in my head, you know, if I win the clinch. And then sure enough, they pulled the other guy. They pulled his ball again, and I lost the clinch that way. And so, like, after the match, I didn't feel like I got scored on. I didn't feel like I got beat. I'm just like, wait, it's really over? And, you know, I beat him the year prior, and I beat him in the finals of the Open the year after in 11-13, and made the team in 11-13. So it's like, man, that was my real chance to do really well. And he went on and won the bronze medal. So it's like woulda, coulda, shoulda, but you know, that was the rule set. It played to my advantage every once in a while too. So I was fine with it, and it was a weird feeling to lose the biggest match in a weird place with a pretty weird rule set.
Well, like you said, I can't imagine warming up like an American Eagle and all that stuff, and people, like you said, I mean, you get used to doing something a certain way your whole life, and then it bothers me when people throw monkey wrenches and things. Like, as a comedian, I deal with it all the time. I'll be like, oh, we're doing this now, and I'm like, well, that changes everything.
Yeah, right. It does, man. And I didn't think of it until like way after, and I've talked about it so much. But damn, for that match, like it's great to put on a show for the Beat the Streets, but that's what we were. We were in the middle of the Beat the Streets, and it was our final Olympic trials special wrestle off. And whatever. If I would have won, it would have been the greatest thing ever. And then it would have been the spectacle. He's jumping up and down. He's got the American flags. All the pictures are in Times Square. Awesome. I'm all for it. It's a lot for a moment like that.
Yeah. And a ball draw, especially to decide, who's going to be the representative. I mean, I don't understand why anyone ever thought that was a good idea. And I won't keep hammering that home because I know you you obviously feel the same way. But
yeah, it's all right. It actually like made my career a little bit and got me in some matches and built some confidence for me. So I'm not going to hate on it too much. But these rules right now are by far the best they can be.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you did make 2 world teams, which is the equivalent for people who don't know what that means. That that's the same thing as making the Olympic team, just in a different year. So you were the best guy in the country, and you've beaten a ton of great guys. What would you say though is the most satisfying win of your entire career, if you had to pick one?
If I had to pick one, man, I don't know. I can't pick one. I beat a lot of really good guys. I beat Stever and I've beaten Dake, and when I won my first world team, so I made 3. I'm going to correct it. I made 3 teams, 11, 13, 15. Yeah. So right before Rio. So thanks for bringing that up. Oh, no. But, like I beat Bunch all the time, who was my training partner and a friend of mine. And the announcer right after the match, he goes, man, you really love beating him. I'm like, no, I just beat him in the biggest match because he's the best. I love winning the big matches. I really don't care who it is. I have nothing against anybody I wrestle. Most of the guys in my weight are my better friends in the sport, just because you build that bond from, fighting and bleeding with each other. But most satisfying is always going to be whatever my biggest win was, which was the U.S. Open finals and the World Team Trials finals and some big matches overseas. But against a specific opponent, I don't know. Nothing is satisfying. It's crazy. I wrestled with my partners a lot, Stever and Bunch. We trained together every day. And the best thing about that was we were like men enough to be boys before, and then, be able to shake hands and have enough respect for the opponent to really be ready to headbutt them and punch them in the mouth if we had to, which was cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, it makes total sense to me. What's it like to wrestle at a world championships?
It's crazy. It's crazy. You look at the bracket, and if you study freestyle wrestling, like I had maybe 13 or 14 world medalists in my weight in 2015. That was the year. So 2016, they took that weight away. We went from 7 weights to 6, and my weight was just gone, which was another crazy thing. Like any weird rule change, it happened to me. So they just took my weight out. They didn't change the weights. They just took out 60 kilos and kept the rest the same. So I figured 2015, I'd go back down, and it would be like an empty weight class, and because everybody'd be moving up or moving down, but everybody else thought the same thing. And that was actually my toughest bracket going into the world championships. But it's insane if you like look at it. And I never really did this when I was competing, but looking back, like you think about like gladiators, the best guy in your weight class from that country. You beat Ukraine, you wrestle the best guy from Russia. You beat him, you wrestle the best guy from Turkey. And it's like, it's kind of insane when you think about it. They're putting you out to represent your country. And it's like, you better be ready, because these guys are all taking it serious. And this is what it really comes down to. And the world championships are just so different from every other tournament, because the foreigners spend so much time working on technique, and they don't really train as hard as the Americans. And we go to these other tournaments, there's a lot of conditioning that we win a lot of matches on. But at the Worlds, all the foreigners are in shape. They're the best they're going to be. you're getting the best athletes. Some of them are doped up. Who knows? You know, they feel like rocks compared to other tournaments that you wrestle them at. So it's definitely a different beast, and it's a really cool experience. You should go see it sometime if you haven't.
I went to the one in Vegas, and you were on that team, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I went to that one with my wife, and well, she was my girlfriend at the time. But yeah, it was amazing to watch.
Is that when I saw you when I came to your show? It might have been the time I just came to your show.
No, I wasn't working there. We just went for the World Championship, but I'm not sure when. I'm not sure how that worked out. You just happened to be in Vegas for something.
Or something. I was definitely training or something. I don't remember. I don't. But that was cool though.
You were there with JD's brother. And,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I lived with JD's brother for 10 years, I think.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I remember being backstage and being so nervous because I was like, dude, I was telling my buddy, I was like, Reece Humphrey's in the crowd, and he's like, I was like, he was like, are you gonna do anything different because he's in the crowd? And I was like, well, no. And then he's like, well,
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. What's the hardest part about wrestling overseas?
Just being so different. Your food is different, diet. Your training's going to be different. Half the time you don't know where the sauna is, if there's going to be one, if it's going to be cold in the gym. You know, you could be, your mattress is going to suck. That's a guarantee. The time change was always very difficult for me when I was cutting weight. You know, I had little kids at the time, and so my schedule was just so on point all the time. It doesn't matter, weekday, weekend, my kids were up, I was up. And so my body was so set to that schedule. When I would change 6 or 7 hours or more, depending on how far east you went, that would always be a really hard change for me. And sleeping is difficult when you're cutting weight. So that was a big, difficult thing for me. So in the World Championships, we would train for like at least 12 days, 14 days over there, and I would have time to acclimate. Some of the quicker trips, I would still be very groggy, jet lagged by the time the tournament started. So that played a role too. But, you know, it's just so different. Yeah. Everybody's great over there. They take care of you. My dad has stories of the Russian guys taking them on vans and driving them around for 4 hours when the airport was 30 minutes from the place. And I didn't experience any of that, but they will kind of mess with you. Just being overseas is always going to have something go wrong. It's always an adventure for sure.
Yeah. I would imagine. I did a gig in Korea once, and I remember just waking up in the middle of the night and being like, where am I? And my watch said it was like 2 p.m. and it just couldn't be any more pitch black outside. And
Wow.
yeah, and I totally understand about the kid. My boy's 18 months old now, and it doesn't matter when I go to sleep. My eyes are popping open at the same time, and usually right before his. And so, yeah, I can't imagine how difficult that was. You recently did some beach wrestling. How did you get into that?
Flow Wrestling called me, and they wanted to start promoting it. And man, I think there's such a future in it. It's so much more enjoyable for the fan because now we're on the beach, which is just pretty self-explanatory. But the rules are better for the fan. You get 1 point for a push out, 1 point for a knee touch, 1 point for a takedown, and 3 points if you absolutely slam them on their back. And if you get 3, it's like a judo ippon. It just ends the match. And they're hard to get. Like I threw a couple guys, and you roll off your back like a normal lateral drop or big throw, and no 3. You have to like pancake them, slap them on their back to get a finishing move like that. But you know, it's 3 minutes. You're in the sand, so 3 minutes is very long. But Flow Wrestling called me up because it's like, how many guys are still training wrestling that don't have stuff to do during the normal freestyle season? Which is I'm the only one really. And I loved it. I would love to keep doing it. The competition was a way higher level than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be more of a veteran thing, but these foreigners put serious time into it, and I didn't. And I ended up wrestling really well, and I getting a bronze medal. And like I think there was 2 guys in my weight that had beaten Steber, and I wrestled a university world gold medalist. I mean, like full senior level tough bracket, and I was not ready for it. But it was really cool. I was in Rio. They sent me out to Rio, and my dad came, and then Clay Guida, who's a friend of mine, was fighting in Rio that night after the final. So he came and watched me. I went and watched him. He fought BJ Penn, and then we hung out, and it was just an awesome experience. I would love to do it again.
Yeah, you should, man. You've been retired for a couple of years now, but you're still in really great shape. And I wanted to ask, is being able to whoop pretty much anyone on the planet, like, does that feel like having a superpower? Because elite wrestlers, I don't think people don't understand, like, especially guys your size, um, because I just feel like guys your size are like the fastest, and they bigger guys especially, if they have no idea what's getting ready to happen to them, I think
Right, right.
that's
I,
a
don't-
lot.
I wouldn't think of it as a superpower, but it's definitely good for the confidence. Someone bumps into you in a bar, I just kind of hold my ground. I'm not trying to fight anybody anymore, that's for sure. But I'll give you a college fight story. I
Okay.
don't condone fighting in the slightest, but these guys had it coming.
Yeah.
Messing with my wife, who might have had it coming too. But these guys were messing with me, and I was telling them I don't want to fight, I don't want to fight, and they kept on, and I remember, like, I think about, like, high crotching Nate Tomasello and how hard it is. And I high crotched this guy, and it's like I had to, when I threw him up, I had to, like, hold his ankle because he was going to fly away. I lifted him up so hard. And I was like, all right, guys, this is it. So it didn't turn too bad. It was just like he realized how bad he had screwed up so fast. But yeah, man, it's definitely, wrestlers tend to handle themselves well if the fight does break out. Hopefully none of us are starting it. But yeah, I wouldn't call it a superpower by any means.
Yeah, well, I think it's a superpower.
Okay. Cool, I'll take it.
If I could wrestle that good, dude, I think it's like having a superpower. Uh, I wanted to ask somebody who's wrestled Logan Stever, is that guy just freak strong?
From from here, this triangle right here, his neck to his traps, which is why he's got a bunch of neck problems. But like when he was younger, he would take these not so great shots and he'd finish all of them because he was so strong in there. And I mean, he's got some like farmer strength. His dad kind of looks like that. His whole family does outside of Hunter Stever. But they look strong in this like trap neck region. And it's from doing a lot of single legs and getting his head up. And once he kind of turned that technique into just great timing and a really good shot, he became the best in the world. But he taught me a lot about leg defense, because if he got like a pinky on you or just like fingertips on you, you were up in the air because his neck and his traps and his lower back were so strong. So it's like I knew how to down block well from him. Like, talk about what a great training partner. Keep him off my legs, and then if he did get my legs, I learned a bunch of tricks and how to be heavy and how to be able to slide off once he was getting up. So like, man, taught me a lot. It's probably my best position is leg defense, solely because of Logan.
Yeah. You guys have some studs right around NJRTC these days, which you're the head coach of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is Nick Suriano around? I heard a rumor that he wasn't going to be wrestling. Is that true, or can you tell me any of that stuff? You don't know?
I have no idea. Yeah, Nick and I don't talk too much, and I don't think he talks that much with the Rutgers coaches either. He's a pretty like secretive individual guy. He doesn't really want to let anyone know what his plans are, but he's a phenomenal wrestler, and I know that we all love him, having him around. And so as of right now, I don't have the answer for you, but I think he's great, and he's just a phenomenal athlete. So whether he wants to do fighting or freestyle or folk style, I don't have an answer for you. I know I've heard acting as well, but he's a superstar. He's going to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I selfishly hope he comes back and wrestles 33, because that's going to be one of the best weights of all freaking time.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch again. I'd love to see him wrestle Fix and Miocic, and man, there's really good guys in that weight. But there was really good guys in that weight last time, and he came out on top.
Yeah, it was a great bracket. How is gosh dang, Pat Downey? How's he doing these days?
He's good, man. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting ready to get back on a normal schedule, which would be great. This has been difficult for everybody, but everybody's making their own gains in different ways. And he's been working a lot with like the Bulgarian bags, and he's never really been a strength training guy, but he's getting into that. And so my hope is that because on the mat, he's a superstar. If you get him in the room, he's always the hardest working dude. And so I want him to be able to adopt this extra workout, because if he gets on the 2-a-day focused schedule, like this guy, he's got superpowers. Talk about this, someone who has superpowers. We
Yeah.
can get him training twice a day and doing it because he wants to. And like, he's already freakish strong. I think he could make some really big jumps. So I'm excited for him.
I'm a big fan of Pat Downey too. Is he? He's never strength trained, that monster. How is that possible?
Never, never, ever. And we'll strength train, and he'll just be there, and he'll like just move around the 10-pound weights, and just like, there's no idea what he's doing in there. He tells me he's doing back and he's doing like chest. It's like no idea. But then you grab him and he feels like a just straight brick. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't want him to put on too much weight, so he'd have to follow a pretty good plan. But he's got it. I like what he's doing right now. It's pretty functional stuff. He likes what Kyle Dake does, and wants to build that functional strength so he can be more athletic. But man, if he gets on 2-a-days, we're gonna have some. We might have a shot. I think
I'm a big fan. I'm definitely going to be pulling for him, and he's definitely done some things recently that people didn't expect him to do. So I'm really looking forward to it. And he wrestled really well at Worlds, I thought.
That's what too. I thought he kind of had a mental lapse in the one he lost because he gave up one move. And I think I did the same thing. My first Worlds, like, wasn't quite sure if I should be there. I won a couple times and was just like really happy. And now he really knows he should be there. And this dude, he listens as good as anybody in the corner during the 30 seconds, during practice. If he wants to learn wrestling, and he's got a good respect for me and what we do with the program and the rest of the team. He's trying to get better, which is hard to do on a senior level and make adjustments, and because everything works to get to this point. But he knows he can get better in a bunch of situations, and him hyping it up helps the rest of the team try and learn it. He's a really good guy to have in the program.
Yeah. I don't think people realize, like, your average person, like, every now and again I'll see somebody talking crap on a certain like when Zane Rutherford got beat at Worlds, some guys were talking crap on him, like, oh, he shouldn't have even been there and blah blah blah. And I'm like, do you have any idea how freaking hard it is to win at that level, to be the guy, to make a world team? I mean, I don't, because I've never done it, but I would also, that's why I would never talk shit on it.
Right. Yeah, you can't, man. Like, you can't. Like, you know how hard it is to make it to the NBA, and people understand how savage those guys are, but they still have no idea. Like, I meet all these guys, like, man, if I knew what I know now, I'd be on the team. I'm like, dude, you would never touch my leg. You're like, no, like, I could say it with full confidence. They're like, you don't think I could sneak a takedown? I'm like, no. Yeah. I wrestle Bryce every day, and he has a hard time scoring. It's like, man, these guys, you would never score on Bryce. You'd never score on any of these guys. These guys are training full time to be the best at a sport that they're the best at. And it's like, it's just a crazy, crazy thing to think that people don't understand the levels to this game. And Zane is, like, you talk about someone who's super strong, super freaky, and it's just like matchups happen sometimes. You get in like a little bad run of a couple bad things happening. And I mean, Yanni's wrestled great at a few tournaments, but I don't know, man. Who knows what would have happened if he stepped in there too? But I don't know, man. Whoever makes the team definitely earned it, because you got to wrestle everybody.
Yeah.
You get picks for this.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember after state my senior year, my cousin being like, you should try out for the Olympics. I bet you'd make it. And I was like, dude, I appreciate what you think you're saying right now, but there's no way. I couldn't score on those guys literally to save my life. And he's like,
right.
I'm like,
I know, it's crazy. Like, think how hard it is to win a state title.
Yeah.
And then everybody's won 3 or 4 at the college level. Then you get the best from the college level to just try senior level. And then the guys that make the team. And then there's the guys who have a chance at medaling, the guys who are going to medal every time, the guys who are going to win every once in a while, and the guys who win every single time. Like, the amount of levels that are above what I did, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had Barry Davis on, and he was telling me that Dan Gable beat Randy Lewis when he was 37 years old. Gable beat him like 52-2, and he beat Ed Bannock like 54-2. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around how someone that good gets beat that bad, but it happens. It happens all the time.
I wrestled with Burroughs once, like maybe once or twice ever, and once at practice. And we were just like drilling. I thought we were sparring, but he wouldn't let me score. And then like he just looked at me one time. He goes, "You got no shot, do you?" I'm like, "No, man, I don't. You're bigger and you're better than me. I've been trying the whole time. Like, dang, can you just let me score a little bit?" Like, no, I got no shot, man. You're the best. And it's crazy. You don't know it until you really feel it.
Yeah. Who's the toughest guy you've ever wrestled? Not necessarily the best, but the toughest.
Toughest. Jimmy Kennedy was always like such a just brick. Like if I would we'd go back and forth, but the times that he beat me, I'm just like, dang, I can't do anything to him. He beat me 9-0 once at the U.S. Open, and I was like, man, maybe I'm at the wrong weight or something because this dude is better than me, stronger than me, everything. And and then we would go back and forth at different times too. But matchups are crazy. He might be the toughest one though.
Yeah. Who do you think we're gonna have an Olympics, buddy?
I don't know. It looks starting to look better at this point. This seems like a lot of things are opening up. I'm a little curious to see if we're opening up too fast because people are people and people are stupid. So I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know. That's my thing with COVID and all this political business. I don't know who to believe. So I've just been going on the safer side. But man, I have no idea who's right or what's going to happen. So that kind of depends on the next few months, I think.
Yeah, there's so much conflicting information going around. It's like, man, I wish you could just go to one news station and get the news instead of like, it's just all this political cheerleading. I'm like, can you just tell us what the hell's going on, please?
I know. Like we literally have opposite views and no idea who to believe, and that's making it all worse, like completely worse. Nobody knows how to act.
Yeah. And people are all sharing articles like, this article proves you're wrong. And then like, well, this article proves I'm right.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So with the Olympics 2021, man, I'm really hoping so. If it's got to be no spectators, I don't really see how that there could ever be a real issue with no spectators. I could see how like a fall college football game could not go off because that's going to be 1 million people. And even if this thing is the least that people are talking about it, this virus, it would still be messing a lot of people up at that point. But for wrestling matches, nobody comes to those anyway.
Yeah, man, I was really looking forward to the Olympic trials. That was going to be, well, first of all, I was working in Reno when the NCAAs happened. And at first they said, oh, they're going to do it with no crowd. And I was like, no crowd? That sounds awful. And then when they were like, they're canceling the whole thing, I was like, well, just do it with no crowd.
Yeah, right. Yeah, can we just do it?
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm all about it, when they decided to cancel the whole damn thing.
Yeah,
but
I just want to see it, man. I felt bad for these kids.
yeah,
Like, the Olympic trials, like we were postponed. That was upsetting, but it's like it's still the Olympics are going to happen. But it's like for us, we had the world team member at 61, which isn't an Olympic weight. We had a guy who was third, who was just getting started, an astronaut, who at 70 kilos, not an Olympic weight. I'm like, now what's really hurting us is we don't have the worlds next year. 2021, if we have the Olympics, we definitely don't have the worlds. Then what happens? It's like we missed out on 10 world champions. And some of these guys are in their prime. Like JB was 6 weeks away from what I would think would be his last competition, or at least the trials, and then the Olympics if he won. And it's like when I saw him at the Pan Am qualifier, he was ready, like really ready. And I know how hard that is to do at 31 or however old he is. Now he's got to wait a whole extra year, and Dake gets a whole extra year to get his weight down. Like it was a big change for a guy like that, who could have, he was really had already turned it up and been turned it up for a long time. And so like, that's who I really felt bad for. College guys getting it totally screwed. A guy like Kaladzic, who came out of his Olympic red shirt for 12 matches or whatever it was. And now he's got no senior season. Like that's just crazy to me. So it's like the athletes got hurt a lot, and so like that proves what I want to do with COVID. That's why I go towards the safe side. Like they took away something that means a lot to me. Sure. And if they're doing that and we're still acting like idiots and getting in big, huge gatherings, and the potential is to take that away from us again, why are we doing that? Like, that's what I don't get. Things got taken away from me specifically. I, in a selfish way, wanted to watch the NCAAs and the Olympic trials and the Olympics. So I don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with that again.
Yeah. You touched on it a second about your 61 kilogram guy. That's Tyler Graff, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Tyler Graff fan. I was pulling for him so hard in his medal match
I know.
because he just seems like such a good dude, you
He
know?
is.
Yeah. And he's been so close in so many situations, you know, NCAA finals and world teams and all that. And I really thought he had a chance to win the whole thing. And didn't he almost win in the semis?
It was the quarters against the guy who won.
Yeah.
And it was 1-1, and we were on his leg with 20 seconds left, and fought really hard, and it just didn't go our way. And man, it's crazy to me, the belief that he has in himself, and he like preaches it a lot in his interviews, that he found a coaching staff that believed in him, and a training, and the partners and everything. And that's what's so great about the NJRTC is we believe in our guys, even guys who haven't done it before. We believe we're getting better. And man, he really thought he was going to win the Worlds. And I thought that he had a chance, just being a little more realistic. Yeah. And the way that he broke down after that match was hard to watch. Someone who does everything right. Tyler Graff is a soldier. And after he lost that match to the eventual champ, 1-1, and I think it was like a last second, maybe 3-1, the guy took him down on our last dish effort. But when he, like, the sadness and what it took for him to even come back in the consolation bracket it was cool to see. And it's just like, man, it's his time, but now he's getting better. And now he's an older wrestler, but he's got his prime right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm pulling for him. I'm a huge Tyler Graff fan. Is he gonna cut down to 57 for the?
No. He's hoping for the 61 non-Olympic Worlds, but yeah, I don't know exactly what the plan is. Things are obviously changing now, but yeah, I don't know. Whatever weight he goes, he's gonna be a problem, because if he went 65, he could definitely get bigger and not give up the weight that he feels in practice. But I don't know if he can make 57 though.
Yeah, dude, the fact that they cut it down to 6 weight classes just pisses me off. When I was a kid, it was 10 weight classes, and I just hate that they've done what they've done, and I don't see what the point of it is. But
yeah,
getting all that, I think it's crap, and you probably do too. But
yeah, they went from 7 to 6. That was one that got me. They just took mine out. That's exactly what happened. They didn't change anything. Just no. I was like, oh, this is good. I don't have to cut weight. Then I started wrestling the bigger guys, and I was like, man, what just happened?
Yeah, I saw you at the U.S. Open. I think it was the U.S. Open that you won in. The last one that you won, I was there for that, and that was pretty good cut for you, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, because I started bulking up to go to 65. I went up in 2014, and then I was like, man, I'll give it one last shot, thinking it'll be an empty weight. We already touched on it a little bit, but yeah, I got big. I weighed at least 160, going down to 132, 134 now, and like fit at 160. Like really in shape, working out twice a day. So yeah, I mean, it was tough for me, but I mean, I don't have any regrets.
Yeah. I wanted to get your picks, if you don't mind. Like, if God willing, the trials go down, who are you picking at 57? I would say Spencer Lee versus the field. Who do you got?
I'm not giving picks. I can't give picks. I'm not giving picks, man. I think Spencer Lee is the favorite for sure. I'll give you that. But Tomasello is a super savage. If Soriano gets in there, he's definitely got a good chance if he can make that weight well. There's a lot of good guys in that weight. That's a really good weight, man.
Yeah, dude. There's so many. Thomas Gilman.
Gilman is right up there too. He's got the same skill set as Spencer Lee, but he's like stronger and tougher. And I was wrestling 60, 65, and I wrestled Gilman, and he was a clear 57. And I'm like, man, this dude is strong. Yeah. This dude's really good, just in practice. But yeah, I'm a fan.
Dayton Fix, Joe Colon. I mean, the list is just it's a huge list.
Yeah, Fix too. What the heck?
Yeah.
Colon's a savage too. He wrestling great overseas too. I mean, we got some depth now, but 6 weight, everybody has depth.
Sure. Yeah. So you don't want to make any picks as far as like JB versus Dake or any of that?
Nope. Nope. Too smart for that, Tim. You kidding me? These are my friends, man. I won't even tell my wife who I'm picking.
And they're all so freaking good, man. I mean,
Yeah, no, I really think, it's like whoever wins that weight, and you can't count out Imar either, or James Green. You don't know how good that guy's going to be at 74. He's a savage too.
yeah.
Man, I'm sure I'm missing some other people too, but it's like, I mean,
Jason
Frank Molinaro won my weight, and Jaden Cox was the 9 seed. Molinaro was the 9 seed in 2016. It's like, you can pick favorites and do this and that, but either way, you're going to maybe piss your friend off, and you definitely have no idea what's really going to happen out there.
Yeah.
They're all really, really good.
I mean, it's great for USA Wrestling, but it sucks as a fan that we have 4 world champs and only 2 of them are going to be able to make the team.
Yeah, it was a great addition when they added the upper weights in there. Jaden could go 92, and that lineup with JB, Dake, DT, and Downey. Now I'm not picking DT over Downey by any means,
Yeah.
but still, like, world champ wise, and then Snyderman and Jaden before him. It's like that made us a world championship team, or at least be in the running every time.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions that aren't necessarily wrestling related. Do you have the coolest name in wrestling, Reece Humphrey?
Sure. Why not?
Have you ever noticed, though, dude, that good wrestlers always have cool names?
Right. Yeah. My dad has this poster where he's throwing off one leg like this and just says humping across it. He's selling at camps.
I've met your dad a couple times. He's a cool dude. I like your dad a lot.
He's still having a good time. He's living out in Colorado now, just living the retired life, having fun.
What's the best thing you ever did, whether it's wrestling or anything else?
Best thing I ever did?
Yeah.
Raising my kids, man. It's just been the absolute coolest thing. Just trying to teach them confidence and challenging me with different shit every single day. It's like it's always a grind, but you've never wanted something more. It's like definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, but the easiest because it's the only thing I really care about, my family. It's like family way up here, and then friends, job, and then the list really drops after all that stuff. So it's like it's such an easy thing, but it's always just keeping me on my toes all the time, and it's really fun.
Yeah, that's the best thing about having a kid for me is it's made me realize how much stuff that I worried about before that doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually said that in some interviews when I was training, and I had kids during that whole time where I was really training, and the best thing it did for me was to show me what's important. Like, you don't need anything else besides doing the right things to put food on the table and give your family a little bit better life. And that stuck with me, and it still does.
And there's all these little nuggets too. Like, it can be really hard, and then they'll do something. Like the first time, it was a really long, hard day, and then the first time my son called me daddy, it just made it all go away. I was just like, it didn't, all of a sudden, all the stress of him having fits all day long, it just completely went away. And like this morning, he's only 18 months, so he's just now starting to do this stuff. Like, he walked up to me and just gave me a hug. I was sitting down and just, and I'm just like that. I told my wife, I was like, that is one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my entire life right now.
Everything. Yeah, it's crazy. And everybody asks me what the best time is with the kids, and it's always now. My answer is always the present. It just keeps getting better. People say it changes, but up until 9, it's still getting better. It's cool.
Cool. Would you say that having a daughter changed you in a different way than your son?
Yes. It's crazy. Like, we found out we were going to have a girl. My wife just started bawling, crying in the doctor's office. I was like, oh no, what does this mean? And I had a brother, and that was it. And I kind of always pictured having 2 boys and they could wrestle each other and beat each other up. But having a little girl, man, what a game changer too. And it's so crazy, like, how obvious Parker likes trucks. She likes baby dolls. It's like one's a girl, one's a boy. It's so specifically, stereotypically correct on that front. And yeah, man, like cuddles. Talk about, he gave you a hug. The cuddles with the girl is just so much sweeter, and definitely made me a little softer. But maybe I need that.
Yeah. A lot of my boy, a lot of his idea of loving on you is he'll smack you in the face, and he's like,
I like that too. I like that too, but that's the difference. She'll come over and like make sure I'm okay after Parker punches me.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that. And your daughter will take. Your daughter's the one that'll come visit you when you're old and take care of you, and you're
Good.
like, I hope you're
But I
good.
need that. Yeah, that's awesome.
I know you got to get out of here, but is there anything you want to pimp or say before you get out of here?
Follow me on everything. TikTok. I've been TikToking, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know. Everybody said it couldn't be done. I'm too old, but I've been doing it. I've been grinding on it, and the best part about that is like my boy does a lot of it with me, and people get to see how much fun I can have with the family, and that's what social media has been for me for the whole time. Instagram. If you guys don't follow me, it's at Highlight Humphrey, and you can follow the YouTube where I do more wrestling technique and coach's corner stuff, and I vlog some of our overseas trips if you're ever looking to see what we actually get into, and that's youtube.com/Highlight Humphrey. But I'm just trying to have fun, build content, help build the brand, and keep growing into new opportunities, which is it's been fun the whole time.
Nice, man. The last thing I'll ask you is, are you going to fight this Dylan Dennis character? Is that who it was?
Yeah, it was Dylan Dennis, and we've gone back and forth a couple of times, but he's got like such a power to him. He said one thing and just left it alone. He said wrestlers can't beat me up, and he knows wrestlers can beat him. He knows it. He said one thing, the whole wrestling world went into uproar. Everybody challenged him. He doesn't want to wrestle anybody.
Yeah.
He's Conor McGregor's training partner, but he's also like a master manipulator of the media, which is impressive. And I'm sure he's a good guy too. But yeah, I would love to be the guy that gets to smack him up on the wrestling mat. In my rules, yeah, he's got no shot. He knows it. I couldn't stand a chance in jiu-jitsu either.
Yeah, I love when someone says something like that, and you seem like you're one of the first guys that are like, I'll whoop your ass.
Yeah, what? Are you kidding? In my rules? No, you're not a wrestler. You would have no shot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you, buddy. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and you got any parting words for us?
Oh, man, I've loved following you for a long time. I appreciate you having me on, and it's good to catch up.
Cool, buddy. Well, thanks so much for doing it, Reece, and have a great day, and I hope we get back to normal soon.
Cool. Yeah. See ya.
Thanks, brother. Take care. All right, everybody. That was Reece Humphrey. I really enjoyed talking to him. Dude's a beast. He total stud. I feel like a dickhead that I didn't realize that he was on 3 world teams. I think I did realize it. I just didn't say it correctly. But anyway, that was a lot of fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, go to makingithappen.com, MACAN ithappen.com. Help out little Bo Macon. And go to youtube.com/Tim Gaither and sign up for my YouTube. And I just realized my door is open in my office, which I meant to close. But anyway, you guys are great. Thanks for supporting me, and thanks for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I've got some other great guests coming up. I'm going to have some more comedians too also. So thanks for tuning in, and God bless all of you. Take care. Bye. Do us both a favor and click on that subscribe button.